And all right, welcome to Mission Unstoppable. This is the place where you come to learn about how to change your mindset, because it really has nothing to do with your business, your family, or your religion, but yet it has everything to do with all three. So let's break into this book a little bit further on Chapter 9, The Key to Mental Toughness, as we continue our journey with Mission Unstoppable. All right, so there we go. So yeah, lots of fun, guys. This book has been amazing. We're on page 121 on the paperback edition, or the hardback edition. So this book right here, pretty incredible. The thing I like about the book is if you get the basic concept down of the 4 different personality types in business, you really don't have to begin in any one particular chapter. You can just kind of go in and read. I mean, look at Victor, right? Victor, you read that chapter. You got some stuff out of it, right?
I did.
You didn't have to even have any concept of the beginning of the book. You basically, there was stuff to learn.
Yeah, all in one chapter. Give me a second. All in one chapter. I've took notes, and I was asking myself, where in the world did Albert find this book? Because I need to get it. I need to figure out. It's kind of like you coming in the middle of a movie and you find the interest points, but you at the same time you got to go back and say, okay, what led up to this part?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
can get this on free public service announcement on Amazon. So just go to Amazon.com and you can pick the book up. Just make sure you don't get the wrong Unstoppable. Understand it's by Dave Anderson. There is another book out there that's Unstoppable, but it's a different Unstoppable. So you can also get the audio version, and it looks like a guy running, but it looks like he's made up of flies, like he's being chased by a bunch of mosquitoes or something. So it's kind of weird looking, but it is Unstoppable by Dave Anderson, the audio version.
Or you can download it in Google Play Store. If you have Android, you're always on the go.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't have an Android, so apologize. You be the expert on that one. So anyways, Martin Luther King said, faith is making the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase.
I've fallen down a couple staircases.
Right, yeah. So, in my 16-week journey of weight loss, where I've lost a bunch of weight, it has been a mental toughness coupled with faith, as you'll find this chapter's about, where I had to have faith that the processes that I was going through was going to provide me with the results that I was kind of looking for. And the thing is we are in the place that we're at today because of the habits that we've been developing over the course of our lives. And some of these habits that we are engaging with consistently are not providing us with the results that we want. And so sometimes, just as iron sharpens iron, we need somebody to kind of point us in the right direction. And my hope is that this book has been and continues to be, for those that are listening to the replay, that source of encouragement to where they can see, yeah, it is possible to make a change. It is possible to become mentally tough in the sense of being able to focus in a direction that's new.
Yeah. When I looked at this chapter, it popped out to me as a question of what is the key to mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, and it's funny because reading this chapter, it falls into a lot of the stuff that I've been doing Facebook Lives with. I just started school, and basically we're talking about mental toughness as well. And there's 6 key factors of mental toughness that's wrapped into one thing, and a lot of people have not grasped that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read a couple of them. And one of them is faith, you know. Raised in church, you know, I was a youth leader, and basically faith is one of them, you know. Attitude is one of them. Having the right attitude of faith versus having the attitude of doubt, you know. I'm not going to try to preach here, but faith without works is dead. You know, you got to have the right type of attitude, and basically it all wraps around into one thing. And I'm going to get into it a little bit later, but it's mindset, it's faith, and it's your belief that you can achieve and accomplish anything that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And developing yourself into what the book would call a game changer, where the whole goal in this book is to help us all get to that point where we're elevated to game changer status. And
Right.
And again, you know, there's the undertaker, there's the caretaker, there's the playmaker, and then there's the game changer. And that's the one we always are striving for. And then from time to time, we may slip back into the more negative ones. But the key is how long do we stay out versus getting back into what we call our zone, which was covered, I think, in chapter 7. But to get yourself to game changer status, one of the key words that I noticed in the first paragraph was developing oneself to game changer status. Developing means that just like when you take a picture with the old 9mm rolls, you can't just take the picture and then wonder why everybody can't see it, right? You've got to develop it. You got to dip it in the liquids and hang it up and let them dry, and then finally put a frame around it and then present it to the world, right? Well, as a person who wants to become a game changer, we have to have persistency, tenacity, focus, resilience, diligence, and a right attitude, and faith. Okay, so what this writer has determined and figured out is that there is a direct correlation between faith and the thing you want to accomplish. Jumping out of an airplane. If that's something that you want to accomplish and go parachuting, you've got to have some faith that the dude, even if that's the only kind of faith, it doesn't have to be a faith in a higher being, which I try to stay as neutral as I can in here. Everybody knows where I stand, but faith in the dude that packed your parachute, right? You probably want to treat the guy that packs your parachute kind of nicely. Maybe buy him a burger once in a while. I mean,
tip him $100 bill
or something, but make sure that the pleats and the folds are done in the right direction so that when you pull the ripcord, it's going to actually deploy the chute. And that's called faith. The faith in the person that's going to help you make it to the ground without playing basketball with your back, you know, where you bounce.
Right.
So that's going to be the key here is when we say faith, it does not mean we're not talking about necessarily a religion or anything like that, but we're talking about just a belief in something and whatever you're trying to accomplish. And hello, Virginia. What we usually do is we'll go ahead and stop your video, and we can reactivate your video when we're done with discussion. And then you probably have some great questions, and we'll have you come back up. So anyways, if you how can you be mentally tough enough to fight and persist if you do not have the faith that doing so would bring a worthy outcome or result? Because I think all of us that are here, at least on this chat here, we want to do something that's worthy. We want to do something that's going to make a difference in not only our lives, but I think that we're a little past that point. I think that we want to make a difference in other people's lives as well, because there's all sorts of reasons why. But go ahead, Victor.
Well, again, I'm not going to preach, but faith is the substance of things hoped for. You know, a lot of people, in order for them to get to where they want, they got to fight. You know, they got to finish their course, and they got to keep that faith. They got to keep believing that they're going to reach their goals.
Mm-hmm.
There came a point, and I talked to you about it. There came a point with me where for 6 months, I had to position myself and push my own business away and push some friends away to focus on me, to get my own faith back, as far as being able to take on challenges and be able to complete tasks. I mean, yeah, we're going to have conditions. We're going to have obstacles. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have those negative people coming up to us and saying, you can't do it. But you also got to have that confidence and take action in your faith, you know, and all you need is a little bit of faith in yourself and someone to believe in you, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you.
Yep.
That's the way I see it. And it's basically coming down again to, it comes down to one of the things, and I think people should write it down every day, is your why. You know, why am I doing this? Because it amplifies your belief in why you're doing it. It amplifies your faith to keep going. You know, what will it take for you to stay focused?
Yep, that was in chapter 6, talking about our why. So for those of you that want to reference his indirect reference, it's on chapter 6. So
I never read the book, by the way. I'm just going through it.
Well, and that's why when I was watching some of your Facebook lives, I felt that you were kind of going in the right direction. I kind of felt that, you know, I think that you would fit right into this pretty simply, because you were already on that journey for it. Because, you know, it talks about in the book too, that you may not think that your faith is strong enough, or that you're not good enough. And I think that we really have to focus on, well, what is it that we're not feeling comfortable with? Because a lot of times we might compare ourselves to others, and you can't do that. The only thing that you should be doing is comparing yourself to where you were last year, maybe, or last week, or from the time that you started. Like in my case, 16 weeks ago, I was 220 pounds, and now I'm 165. So I can compare myself to that, but I can't compare myself to this other guy that maybe he's shorter, maybe he's taller, maybe he, you know, is richer, poorer, has more, you know, whatever, more influence. Maybe he has a connection at the gym, that he has a personal trainer that I don't have, and all I'm doing is I'm slugging it out. But that doesn't mean that I didn't have faith that was good enough. Because, and again, like I said earlier, I don't push a lot of propaganda for religion within my own meetings too, but the mustard seed is one of the smallest seeds in the world, and yet it grows to the biggest tree in the world. And so even if your faith is as small as a mustard seed, right, is that smallest amount, if you focus on that end goal, whether it be your business, whether it be your relationship with the person that you married 20 years ago, and now you're struggling and you're wondering, well, what do I do? How do I, you know, well, there are steps you can take. You just have to have a little faith. That's why they say have a little faith. They don't say have a lot of faith. They never say that, because you don't need a lot of faith. You just need a little faith. So my hope in saying all that is that it encourages you, because a lot of times people might say, well, if I need a lot of faith, then I'm out. I don't qualify. I'm disqualified already, and they write themselves off. Well, don't do that. You only need a little bit. And optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Okay, that was written by none other than Helen Keller. Now, she was a blind and deaf person, right? I mean, how is it that she had such a positive attitude? Well, she was a game changer. She had to overcome so many things, more so than maybe, and again, without comparing ourselves to other people, right? I mean, but in her case, wow, right? She had to overcome way more than any of us would ever think to overcome. People might say, well, my daddy beat me. Well, she couldn't hear or see. You know, you know, what can you do against that, right? Yeah. So anyways, faith is also personal, guys. You can't allow any one person to define for you what your faith is. You can't allow anyone else to dictate your source of faith. That is a personal decision, right? Everyone who does not have a religion still has faith, which is also maybe described as a trust or confidence in someone or something, right? I mean, when you put your earplugs in to hear us on this computer, you have faith that you'll hear us, right? And when it doesn't have it, do you just give up? No, you just say, oh, I must not have it connected right? You have faith that once connected, you will hear, right? So anyways, so why do we bother to engage in a new day unless we have a belief or expectation that something positive in our existence will occur, right? I mean, what's the point? And so when we think of it that way, then we get up with an expectation that we are going to accomplish something great today, that our faith in the abilities that we've been developing over time, whether it be in exercise or relationship building or your business. You've done certain activities in your business in the past, to speak on businesses, that have provided you with results. And maybe you it's about being honest with where you're really at in your life today as to the activities that you are or are not engaging in, right? You can't just say, well, I'm in business, and then go get your witness protection program badge, right? So you just gotta go disappear, right? You got to be open for business. You got to say hi to people, right? Unfortunately, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so there is a list on page 123 that kind of goes through where faith can come from. And this is what I kind of messaged in some of my groups. Hey guys, come on out to learn about how faith impacts your goals in life. And faith may not be where you might be assuming that it comes from. Because a lot of people, in my opinion, even me, when I hear of faith, I think of God and Christian, right? Because that's who I am. But that's not a total summation of what faith is. You know, you can have faith in, you know, right. And there's arguments, right? There's arguments that depend on how strict you want to be with your particular belief system. But we do have faith in people, right? In our abilities. Whether we should or not is another question, right? So did you read this list here and have any thoughts on it? Anything jump out at you?
I did.
Good.
I the way I look at it, I'm going to run through some of the stuff that I've seen.
Sure.
And I think people should write this down: is faith equals mindset.
Okay.
You know, it's the heart of your actions, because a lot of people forget, hey, you know, it's kind of like when you're driving in a car, you got to have faith in that automobile that it's going to function properly.
Okay.
You know, get to your destination. And when you have faith, you don't care what the odds are. You expect to win. You know, you expect to win. You say, okay, you know what? It's like being a runner. I used to do long distance running. They put the best runners in the back, give all the people that are slower in the front a chance to stay ahead. You know, when you have faith, you tune out the negativity. When you know, and it's all the naysayers. People, I like to use my own personal life as, you know, examples. My mom told me, when I told her I was going to go to college back in 2013, she said, no, you can't go to school because I can't help you study. You're just going to fail and fall behind. I told her I wanted to be a music artist, and she said, no, you still got to go to school and learn math. I don't like math. Me and math are not best friends. So she said, you're just going to fail. I said, I want to be a business owner. She said, no, you still got to go to school. You're going to fail. But in my mind, I said, okay, Mom, watch, just watch me. Basically, what faith is, it's proof. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. And when you have faith, you're always looking for a way to win. Okay? When you have faith, you see potential stumbling blocks as stepping stones and setbacks as setups for the next setup. See, I've learned that no matter how many times something does not go the way I want it. Okay, Thomas Edison said it. I believe it was Thomas Edison. He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I've learned 1,000 ways not to do something. Right. Okay. And when you have faith, you don't believe you have failures, but that you have just received feedback. Now, a lot of times as a business owner, I send out feedback, and I'm praying, I'm hoping, hey, maybe they'll send out some good feedback. But then my mind says, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's covered. Don't worry about it. You did a good job. When you have faith, pain and pressure both focus and empower you. Now this is where I had to shift my mind, because a lot of people, we all go through the pains. We all go through the valleys. We all go through the hardships. Whether you're in a business, it may be slow right now. You may be thinking, where's the next check coming from? You may be thinking, how can I make more money? Okay, when you have faith, you do all you can, then look around for others to lift. Now, this is where my motivational speaking comes in, because a lot of times when I'm down and out, and Albert you see that when I'm motivating on Facebook, it not only motivates them, but it motivates me. Mm-hmm. And that's when the faith comes in. Okay, I just motivated them. Now I got my faith back. I got my mindset right again. When you have faith, darkness is temporary, defeat is imaginary.
Right.
I used to tell people, I may be knocked down, but I'm not knocked out. Mm-hmm. See, you get knocked out when you quit. Right. And quitters quit, winners win. Mm-hmm. And then when you have faith, the impossible becomes visible and the invisible becomes possible. See, a lot of times we forget our faith. We forget where we came from. We forget, and we start saying it's impossible. And start saying, instead of saying impossible, start saying I am possible. Mm-hmm. It is possible. When you have faith, you may fall down, but not defeated. And basically, it just comes to the point of actions. It comes to the point of confidence. It comes to the point of attitude. All of it's wrapped around in one core thing. What is the key to mental toughness? It's your faith, but it's not only your faith, it's the mindset of having and how you have your faith.
And faith, I like to look at it as like a muscle. You have to develop it. And if you stop using that muscle, it'll start to atrophy, right? And so we have to put into our minds daily. And that's the first thing what is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning? Most people don't know what the first thing is they do in the morning. They think they know. They think it was that they got up and went to the bathroom. They think it's they went and got a glass of water. They think that, but no. What was the first thing that entered your mind? What did you allow? I can't hear you, buddy. So
checking my Facebook. Sorry.
Right. And so what are we filling our minds with? Because see, when the world shakes you, what is going to come out? If you're a Parmesan cheese grater bottle, not grater, but a Parmesan cheese bottle, and the world turns you upside down and shakes you, what comes out? Well, whatever you put in. So is it negative or is it positive? It doesn't matter that the world's shaking you, because it's going to shake you whether you put in good or bad. It's what's important is what is coming out, and how do we determine that? By what are we putting in? We've got to feed it a diet of faith. Well, what is that diet? Building words, thoughts, and our philosophies. And we're going to go into philosophies in the next chapter. Excuse me. But are they positive? Are they life-giving words? Like you said, Victor, I can or I can't,
Yeah. And, another thing is when you have faith, things do get tough. You don't wait your way out. You don't wish your way out. You don't whine your way out. You don't wait for somebody to bail you out. It's the fact that, look, I'm gonna be real with you today as a motivational speaker. Okay. When I lost my job back in 2009, I used to work with sheriffs, and I was sitting on a park bench figuring life out, okay, I'm 23, 24. I got to figure something out. I was asked a question, would you like to make more money than what you're making right now? I only had $60 in my pocket. I invested it. I had faith. I had to throw all my faith, everything that I had left, into this $60, into the coffee industry. and made a good return. I went out and bought some equipment. I started building up my clientele to open up my DJ company. And today, 10 years later, from 2009 till now, 9 years later to now, I own a business. I am a music owner or a music artist. I'm a motivational speaker. And it's you're going to have those haters. Everybody, asks me, Vic, why do you keep all the negative people on your Facebook? Because I want you to see that it just doesn't take strength. It doesn't take running. It takes the mindset. It takes the faith. It takes the actions, and it takes why. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like the quote that said, the greatest legacy one can pass on to one's children or grandchildren is not money or other material things accumulated in one life, but rather a legacy of character and faith. Now that brings me to this: is what is your faith saying about you?
Right.
What is your character? Because faith is also a character.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you got to train up a child into the way he should go, and he won't depart. See, I learned one thing. I learned one thing is my dad and my mom, they raised me in church. They started putting that mindset of, hey, anything you do, just believe in it. Just make it to where you have faith. And my dad always said that faith is the size of a mustard seed.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, going back to the what are you feeding yourself as well? What are some of the ways that we can? I mean, because you can feed yourself all sorts of good stuff and then take a shot of poison and you're still going to die, no matter how much good stuff you put in, right? So, what are some things that we can avoid? We can avoid toxic media that influences or weakens your faith, right? Because the world's going to end, right? They said that several times. I thought the world was going to end when certain people became, president. Certain things happened, and I thought certain people were going to leave the country. So the world was going to end for me with Hollywood, right?
Y2K.
But that too, and when it nudges you out of your zone, which you can go back to previous chapters to look at the zone thing. But again, can you hop back into that zone? And you have to fight for your faith. There's going to be critics and doubters and setbacks and rejections and disappointments and more things than you can think of. But again, you're in charge of what? Not the external influences, but what you're putting into your mind. What are you putting into it? So you have to be very purposeful. I like that word, purposeful. My kids go, I did that by accident. Well, then do something on purpose. Be purposeful, right?
That's a good one.
Right? And my kids don't know what to say to that. Every time I say, I did it by accident. Well, then be purposeful. Do it on purpose. Be kind on purpose. Pick up, the good book or a good book and fill it in your mind in the morning, right? Whether it be an audio or actual reading. Don't make excuses. I can't read. I don't like to read. Okay, well, then listen. And do something period into your mind, and maybe you'll change your mindset and say, well, I can read, I can do anything I set my mind to, I can do all things through, right?
Mm-hmm. So, and that also asks the question is like, because within your first 20 minutes of waking up, and like Albert says, what are you putting in your mind? I go to work at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to UPS, and my first 20 minutes, 2 minutes of it is having to hear my dad, grumble about having to take me to work. So I put these babies in, and I listen to my good friend, the great Les Brown. The great Les Brown. I got to speak on the same stage as him, and I also get to listen to my boy Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. If you've never heard of him, go look up Eric Thomas. And I listen to that on the way to work, at work. Here's why: because I'd rather have something positive going into me. Where energy goes, or where energy flows, focus goes. Remember that. Yep. Where energy goes, focus flows. Because honestly, It's somebody could literally cut you off on the freeway and ruin your day. Whatever it is, it could be an action, it could be listening to something, and like Albert said, if you don't know how to read, listen to it, because
Right.
you don't need to read a book. Audio
Right.
audio it, you know. So and that brings to making a sacrifice, you know. Why do people change, risk, and sacrifice? You know, they're hoping it will bring positive results. Do you know what the definition of insanity is? Because a lot of us, we're going crazy every day. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting this different results.
Right.
See, the bigger question is, why don't people change, risk, and sacrifice? It's a lack of faith, and they think actions will pay off, and their course is the most productive route.
And they
So
let others' opinions define them.
don't let someone else's opinions become your reality. My good friend Les Brown says that.
And mute your own critic that's inside of you.
Mm.
You are your
Mm.
worst critic. People try to blame others. Well, I failed because Victor said something negative to me. No, if anything,
You failed because you failed.
coupled it with my own critic, and I allowed that belief to become reality. And so I have to mute my own critic, because if my own critic is gone, it doesn't matter what anybody says. It's just going to be like, ducks back, water's going to fall right off.
I'll be honest with you. When I met my good friend Ken Walls, who's also on my Facebook, I'm throwing out some good people's names. So if you never heard of them, go become friends with them, because they will give you a bunch of motivation. They'll give you great insight. But Ken Walls, he told me when I first met him, he goes, "So you look beat up." And I was like, "Man, you don't understand." And Albert remembers this story. I told him, I said, "You don't understand. My mom this, my mom that, my dad this, my parents this, my parents that." And he said, "Shut up."
Shut your mouth.
Literally, he said, "Shut up." He goes, "I don't want to hear that trash."
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, I'm about ready to walk out of this guy's office.
Right.
And he said, "Here's the thing. You feel that way because you're playing the victim. Look, I'm going to get nitty gritty right now. Some of y'all still holding that past in your pocket."
Right.
I want you to write this down. Write it in a downward form. Past. P-A-S-T. People always stay there. Past always should stay there. Don't bring it up anymore. Stop playing the victim. You got one of the key things to get you out of a hole, and that's faith. That's confidence. How much do you believe in yourself? How much do you believe in what you're doing? How much do you believe in what you're saying? Because I can tell you right now, people, we get, when we get to a certain point of our lives, we think, oh, we got all the knowledge we need, but we end up in one area, and that's our own comfort zone. That's our own comfort zone. So when you hear somebody complaining about how bad their life is, tell them, shut up. Stop
Right.
playing the victim. Get out of your comfort zone. I didn't grow my business by hopes, wishes, and dreams, or hopes, wish, or I hope or want to. No, I got out of my comfort zone. I spoke words of faith. Affirmations is confirmations. I've said this in my other Facebook Live. Affirmations are confirmations. Look, if you're the type of person that says, "I am strong, I go to the gym, I'm a beast, I'm this," write it down. And whatever you speak, listen, by your words are you justified, by your words are you condemned. Okay? Speak faith, speak belief, speak out there of hope, faith, kindness, love. And I'm sorry, Albert, I want you to understand that being a motivational speaker, it excites me. I just want to just like roar, just go beast mode right now on y'all. But understand this, folks, that you got to stop living in your comfort zone. You got to stop playing the victim. That's what happens. People who play the victim are living in their comfort zone because they stopped having faith. They stopped having confidence. They stopped believing in themselves. And you got to have you got to have a drive. That's another thing that brings you to faith. Faith is a drive. Okay, you got to have that driven frustration. When you get mad at something or someone, and dude, just go work on your business, or go out in the yard, take a lawnmower and just mow. Because there are three traits that will separate you from the elite.
All right. Well, expectations are also important. You need to expect to win. You need to expect to be the best. And there are two types of people that see things as having happened to them or happen for them. I mean, when you have a failure, do you see that as a failure, or do you see that as just simply feedback so that you will grow and improve from that situation? Most people get stuck in the fact that they didn't, complete whatever it is they set out to do, right? And they feel like it happened to them instead of for them, right? And so I look at, I'm trying to see the failures as we might define them as more of it's just feedback. So I'm not going to take it personal. I'm going to go, okay, I see that perspective. So how can I use it to become a better me, right? If nothing else, that's what we can do with the things that people say. I tell my kids all the time, whatever is told to you, take what is true and embrace it. Take what is not true and get rid of it. But if there's any inkling of truth to the accusation, take that truth and improve on it, right? Because that's all you can do. Because again, it goes back to, what are you in charge of? Are you in charge of the things happening to you, or what you're doing? That's the only thing you have charge over. And darkness is temporary. No matter how dark it seems, give it 24 hours. That's what we always say, right? Give it 24 hours, no matter what you're dealing with. So.
Yeah, and you only have 24 hours in a day. So what are you doing with those hours?
Right.
Are you doing self-development, personal growth? What are you doing with your hours? My dad, I remember I became part of an opportunity called, and I'm going to throw it out there. The company's no longer around, but it's called iWowie. I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like this Zoom thing,
right.
And me and Albert, we were always on that thing chatting, and I was running ideas with him. And there was times where, no, Albert's gonna love me for this one, but there was times where Albert would say things and it would just like, oh no, I want to do it my way, But I took the advice, and it's kind of like putting alcohol on a wound or salt on a wound. Yes, the advice of your friend that they are giving you is probably going to burn because it's probably hitting home. Don't look at advice as a bad thing. Look at advice as like, oh, that stings because maybe I'm living that way. Maybe I'm not where I need to be in life yet. What are you willing to do to get to where you want to be? Again, like I said, there's three traits that will separate you from the elite. Trait number one is drive.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be willing to put in the extra time and work to make up for what you lack. So I like to tell people, learn your weaknesses. Stop working on your strengths. Okay? Stop working on them. Take your weaknesses now and work on them. Okay? Because here's the thing. You got to have the drive, and you got to sacrifice. And what are you willing to? And I asked someone last night. She was driving from her son's house, had a 6-hour drive. She called me up at 10 o'clock last night, my time, and she said, "Will you talk to me?" So we were talking, and we were playing a game called 21 Questions. Okay, great game, because this is how you can find out who the other person is. So if like me and Albert played this game, I would ask him for sacrifice, what are you willing to give up to go up? What are you willing to give up to go up? What are you willing to do to better your life, to better your business?
I give up coffee and brownies to get to my weight, right? That was
See?
my biggest
It's
sacrifice.
it's a sacrifice, exactly. Now, here's a better question. Okay, what are you willing? And this is for people that are married. Okay, and it's funny because when I was doing a Facebook Live, I was like, "Oh, you must be married." Give up the wife, keep the dog. I
didn't say that.
Give up the husband, keep the dog. No, Albert didn't say that. But what are you willing to give up for 1 hour a day to make your relationship stronger with your other person?
How about giving up the right to be right?
How about giving up the know-it-all factor?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I'm not bashing women, I'm not bashing men, but we get that tendency of, oh, well, you should do it this way, or oh, you should do it that way. You know,
especially when they know my way is right. You know, I'm just saying.
I don't know about that, Albert. That's it. We're getting a divorce. No, right. The next thing is appreciation.
Yep.
Making the sacrifice to have opportunities to appreciate the things you have received.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are you appreciated it for? I want you every day. I wake up, I'm laying there, I'm thinking to myself, oh God, another day. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Because here's the biggest fear. Okay. Here's the biggest thing. When you go to sleep, what is the last thing you think of? What is the last thing you worry? What is the last thing you want on your mind? When I wake up, I appreciate the fact that, number one, I get to live another day. Okay. Number two, I appreciate the people that have added value to my life. Mm-hmm. Number three is, and I only do three because there's too many of them to be thankful for, but I thank God for my kids. Because honestly, those are the three main things. Because honestly, appreciation goes way further than just saying thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one of the things that we'll wrap up with is a lot of people shipwreck their own faith, right? People, they've maybe failed in a lot of ways in life, maybe in business, and they're not seeing it as happening for them, but happening to them. And so when things start to get a little bit tough, I believe that sometimes a person will sabotage is another word versus shipwreck, but sometimes people will sabotage their own success because they're afraid to be successful, or they're afraid to fail. So if they just fail on purpose, then it won't be, because then they're in control of that failure, right? So if they can't control their success because they've never stuck to it long enough to have success, then they're going to control their failure. So when you do something, though, that violates your conscience, you're injuring your own faith. Remember, your faith is that muscle that connects to the mental toughness, right? Because again, people are going to throw things at you. Or you're in one of those things, huh? Oh man, he got me. Right? Me, I always say, what things? What are you talking about? I always ask them, you're in that pyramid thing. I'm like, what's a pyramid? You know, I always ask them back the exact statement they made to me, whether it's true or not. They could say, you're in one of those things. You know, again, I just go, what thing are you talking about? I have no idea. All I know is that I help build people up. I help elevate people around me, and I help people learn and educate themselves on specific subjects. So what thing are you talking about? I turn it around on them. I make them think, because I'm not going to self-destruct by making poor decisions, and some of those decisions are accepting what other people say to you and about you. So
all right, 4 things.
Get out of your own way. Go ahead.
4 things that faith adds to mental toughness. And write these down, because I know I did. And look, I wrote notes. I got notes, you know, and I love the fact, and I'm going to go get this book, and I'm going to read the whole book.
I highlighted. See?
Well, I don't got a book.
I know.
So,
Four
Hold on, give me a
things.
second. Four things that faith adds to your mental toughness, and number one, it's unbelievable courage. It's unbelievable courage. You're either you're either a lion or a gazelle, whatever you want to consider yourself. Because courage that will stand strong regardless of a personal cost. What do you like I said? What are you willing to give up to go up?
Mm-hmm.
Faith adds a depth of conviction that ignitions a passion or a fire that is unquenchable in a force of relentless opposition. Look, some of us, we got to get into the mentality of beast mode and just say, you know what? It's faith. It's faith. It's actions. Without faith, works is dead. Okay? Without faith, works is dead. I want to tell you that faith also adds a connection with a divine or supernatural helper who inspires us to believe that all things are possible. Okay? Now, when I hear I can do all things through, it's just like, oh, okay, well, boom, I can do it. I may not want to go through the valley, through the hardship. My lights got turned off. My water bill's higher than normal. But we got to stay focused. We got to find that person. Information changes situations. It's not about how much knowledge you have. It's about who you know to share that knowledge with. Because maybe you, or maybe somebody around you is going to say something to ignite something in you. I know there's been times where Albert has said some awesome, mighty, powerful things to me, and it's just like, ooh, ooh, you don't even know. I mean, and basically, so, and the last thing is faith adds a sense of purpose, a legacy of unselfishness that lives on, a legacy of generosity that makes an internal difference. So the question that I have for you is, well, a few questions. Is number one, are you making a difference? Is your faith making a difference in your life and in the lives of others? Because when you add value, and I'm talking a little bit on my Facebook Live, but when you add value, you change people's lives. Mm-hmm. When you have a sense of purpose, when you realize, what is my purpose? Why am I here? I've sat, and honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. There are times when I've said to myself, I wish I was dead because nobody would ever miss me. No, nobody is this. Everybody would be happy without me. And then a little voice in my head would come up and be like, do you even know what you're saying to yourself? And so I would sit there and ask, I would pray and I'd say, God, why am I here? What is my purpose? And it's unselfishness. If when you give yourself unselfishnessly, I don't even know if that's a word, but is that a word? No. when you give yourself,
we understood you, but go ahead.
When you give yourself unselfishly,
there you go.
You can change lives.
Yep.
I didn't become a motivational speaker, and Albert's watched me grow so much. I didn't become a motivational speaker overnight. I had to live my life. I had to live a life. I had to realize, hey, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, if I start having more faith in the things that I do versus the things that I had that has had me. Yes, there's been obstacles. Yes, there's been times where I've doubted myself. Yes, there's been haters. Yes, there's been people that have said, you can't make it, give up, go home. It's not worth it. Let me tell you something. When at the end of the day, you're gonna feel so battered, so beat up, you're gonna feel so down. But the fact of the matter is, how much faith do you have left inside you? How much faith do you have?
Absolutely. So daily increase your faith, do more of what will increase it, stop doing what is stopping it, and do less of it that is causing you to fall back. You cannot become unstoppable until you identify and give up what is necessary to go up. Wrong thoughts, associations, habits, worries, doubts, and fears. All I can tell you guys is that Victor has been amazing today, and I want him to speak at my funeral. So
Here lies a guy that has always wanted people to join his network.
no.
I'm
Maybe
just
I'll have to rethink this. Anyway, so anybody that has any questions, we'll go ahead and bring you up. Right now, I'm going to stop the recording just simply because it's already a little bit about an hour. But if anybody that has anything you want to say, go ahead and bring up your camera, and you have an opportunity to speak with Victor and myself.